Hi, welcome back to the farm. My name's Roz, also known as Passion Flower, and you'll find me here each week talking about my farming and creative life. So just after I recorded last week, Victoria went into a snap 5-day lockdown for COVID, and honestly it doesn't change too much around the farm. The rest of the family were home working and schooling, but obviously I came over here to the shed to work each day, so I was by myself. The only huge difference is how blissfully quiet the roads were, and that's something that we really enjoyed during the long lockdown period, how quiet it was at the roads, especially in the mornings and at night. Apart from that, it felt reasonably normal. We didn't really have to go to the shops or do anything anyway, and we just sort of rode it out for those 5 days. The only problem we had was on the last night. Our power went off at 5:30 in the evening, and it was not scheduled to come back on until after midnight. So we were all a little bit frustrated with that, because when our power goes off, we have no way of cooking food except on the barbecue. We have no way of getting water. So a quick mercy dash to the supermarket to get some bottled water and a little ice cream for a treat was on the cards. Lockdown also gave us a couple of days to do a fairly large project. So last week I talked about how we had removed the seats from the paddock bomb that had been stuck in the chook paddock, and an idea came about that Seb could use it as a gaming chair. He plays a lot of Formula 1 and driving games, and he's got a steering wheel and pedals. So we spent 2 days and we rigged it up so that it is now like a racing gaming chair with the car seat as his chair, and a system where he has the steering wheel set up at the right height, and he looks like a Formula 1 car. We even decorated it with a nose cone and everything. So as the crafty one, I was on logo and number detail. I created the templates and cut those out, and over 2 days we created this really cool thing with just stuff that we had around the shed and at the farm. No need to go out, so it was a really good lockdown project for all of us to get involved with. When I bought all of the tomato plants and zucchinis, I also bought some marigolds. I thought that would be a really great companion plant for around the garden to attract the bees and the butterflies. Unfortunately, all but 2 were completely eaten by, I'm guessing, rabbits before they really got a chance to take hold. But 2 of the bushes are now doing really, really well, and they've got lovely flowers on them, so I'm really excited about that. I might have to go and purchase some more actually. I think they look really good as borders around the planter boxes. So now that I know that they do grow well here, despite the fact that they might get eaten, I might try and grow some more. And I've also discovered that my pumpkin plant has started to do really well. I wasn't sure how it was going. I'd planted it in the middle of the box with the zucchinis and the tomatoes, and everything else had kind of like grown around it, and I hadn't really taken that much notice of the pumpkin. In the early stages, it looked like it was getting eaten by moths or something, so I wasn't sure that it was actually going to do very well. But it has now creeped its way out of the box, and it is growing around the hay bale, which is next to the planter box, and we've got a couple of pumpkins that have started. So I think it's going to start to sort of creep out all the way around the box. I might have to put a couple of little stands or a frame somewhere so that it has somewhere to sit to take the weight of the pumpkins. But that's really exciting. So hopefully in a little while from now we'll have a lot of beautiful pumpkins to eat. And we're starting to see the effects of the blackberry spraying that we've done. What happens to begin with is that they get really bright little green leaves on them. on the tips. It's sort of like they're trying to grow past where we sprayed, I think, and then they start to wilt and die. And we're starting to really see that in the areas that we did first. And I was over in the bush yesterday. We'd managed to keep the rig for another week, mostly because of the COVID lockdown. So we got another spray in. So I was over in the bush sort of trying to get a little bit further than what we'd done before. And the areas that we sprayed about a week and a half, 2 weeks ago now, is really showing the signs of being poisoned and starting to die off, which is great. That also means that there will be a new job to do around the farm, which will be, once it's all died, is that we'll have to go into those areas and cut back the dead canes to get rid of any areas where there might be blackberries in the middle. And also it stops others that might fall in from growing up and creating like a bigger wall sort of growing over the top of the dead stuff. It also needs to be cleared away so that grasses and native plants have the space to come in and grow in that area. So the next job, or one of the next jobs, will be to watch until they are dead and then start to clear away those dead branches. I dyed a couple more of my Wonka colours this week, or at least I attempted to. I'll tell you the story about that in a moment. First, to the one that was successful. So I dyed To the Fudge Room. Here is the sample square of To the Fudge Room. And it's inspired by when Augustus Gloop falls into the chocolate river. So you've got the chocolate and the white foam and the green from his jacket. So this is what it looks like when it's been dyed up. And this is it in the skein redone. And to do this one, first I twist it into a skein and it goes into the pot wet, tightly skeined up, into green dye. And once that is exhausted on the outside, I open the skeins up, so then there's white spots and green spots, and I put a knot in each end of the skein, trying to hide the dark green spots from getting exposed to the next batch of dye. Then I pop it into a pot with brown, let that exhaust, take it out, undo the knots, and put it back into some more brown. And this is the end result. So this was my success, and this is now available in the shop on my lattice sock yarn. But I also had a failure, and it's quite funny because I have been talking about my recipes and repeatable colorways the last few weeks, and this is an example of when this goes wrong. So I tried to dye Golden Ticket, which is blue with a gold yellow and some green. And the inspiration behind this one is when Charlie finds the golden ticket and he's got his blue plaid shirt on and the gold of the ticket. So as you can see, there's no white. It is all solid colours but quite variegated. So I followed my recipe that I'd put into my OneNote, so on my iPad. And after I did the first step, I'm like, this doesn't look right, but I'll keep going. And this is what I got instead of the solid. And this is what it looks like in the skein. Now it's really, really pretty, and I know the mistake that I made, so I will potentially continue to dye this color, or perhaps use this technique to create some new colors. So what I should have done was to dip each end into the blue and one end into the blue and the other end into the gold yellow color, and have that completely open and absorb the dye. And then lay the middle section out, the white section, and with quite a lot of water on it, I should have put the green and the brown. What I did instead was laid all of the skeins just in a pan with a little bit of water and just tipped the color on. And it created a completely different result and even a completely different color. And I know the color mixes were correct, but it even created different colors. So it's kind of exciting because that's the process of the creation of dyeing and just trying different techniques. But it also shows that I need to make sure that I transcribe from my notebook properly to my OneNote recipes, because I went back and I checked my handy notebook, which is like the Bible of all of my recipes, where I write everything down, and I had completely missed a step in my notes when I put it into my OneNote. So I do have the recipe for Golden Ticket, and I had dyed it many times before, but obviously I had done it from my notebook and not from the iPad. So I need to update my iPad version and also now create a new file with the creation that came out of the mistake. And I may do some experimenting with doing some different colors in this way. And I might also knit this one up and see how it comes out as well, because I think this could be quite a pretty yarn. So it's great to have recipes written down. It's also great to double check them and make sure that they do work. I've just found it so interesting that just by changing a technique that you can get such a different result from the exact same colors. And that goes to show that each hand dyer will create a very different product, even if they're using the same dyes, even the same techniques, because everyone does it slightly differently. So I love how creative it is, and this has really inspired me to try something different now. I added one more colour on my spinning this week of my coloured wool and fibre kaleidoscope box. It is a very dark green, so I'm starting to move into the darker, moodier colours. There's sort of a dark navy and almost a black as well. I think they'll spin out lighter than they look in their little sections at the moment. So yeah, this one was a dark green, and I'm still enjoying it just as much as I have in the previous weeks. I've also added another couple of stripes to my granny stripe blanket. After the little hiccup with ripping it back all the way, pretty much all the way, I'm back on crocheting a little bit. So I've added in wattle and snozberries, and I have a few more little skeins that are going to give me back and forth, so I'll add those in and continue to work on that when I have a little quiet moment. The other thing I have cast on is finally another pair of socks. I took a little break from socks because I was doing all of those colour swatches, but I'm back on the socks. And I started this maybe 2 days ago, and I'm almost at the heel of the first one. Another pair of my pink and grey striped yarn, which I still have quite a bit of. With these ones, I'm thinking that on the leg I might do a little detail where the colour change is. I might do some slip stitches or maybe purl that row just to create a little bit of interest, and also so that I can keep my socks in pairs. So that it's easy when they're in the wash to be able to tell which goes with which. Well, that's it for another week. Thanks for spending some time with me. If you're enjoying these videos, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel and I look forward to seeing you next week on the farm. Bye.